Hey, have you ever found yourself at the head of a prayer session but forgot to do the reading?
The faster the healings, the faster the deliverance, the faster...
Did you agree to sign some glowing paperwork, but it was just because the biblically accurate angel scared the living shit out of you? Well, congratulations! You might be a celestial warlock. But what is a celestial warlock? We'll try to figure out what this god character is all about. Remember to read the fine print to see if you really just sold your soul for sick-ass lasers, and try to slide in under the radar as just another cleric by joining the chorus line. The word warlock is so harsh compared to other religious-based casters. Paladins give off an aura of strength and honor. A cleric embodies devotion and serenity, but the warlock? The name itself reeks of something wicked. But what's the difference, really? Just because a cleric believes it's doing the right thing, or a paladin's oath is fulfilled with righteous fury, does it really make us evil to want our shit written out in plain common? The celestial warlock is the guy who wants a taste of that divine magic without all the fuss and commitment that usually goes with it. Turns out demons or devils aren't the only ones willing to make a deal if the contract is good enough, and it's the celestial warlock's job to hold up that end of the divine bargain. In reality, it's not a bad trade though. We get some magic, and your god or solar or unicorn, which is somehow an option, gets a servant on the cheap. And if you're gonna sell your soul, things could be a lot worse, though the side effects may include an undeserved sense of self-importance and a desire to smite the undead. But your relationship to divinity is purely transactional, which means your personal motivations are inconsequential as long as the job gets done, which of course saves us a lot of time on studying scripture that could be better spent elsewhere.
There will come a payday, hallelujah, what a payday. There will come a payday someday, someday.
But first, do you need a little something more scenic to set the scene? Is your DMing room filled with more maps than the guys looking for Atlantis? Well, if maps and scenes are what you need, you can trust Cheipeku to get you up to speed. Cheipeku are the #1 map maker around and are the best in the business when it comes to high-quality, action-packed set pieces. And now they're offering everything they've got from maps to scenes to their custom token builder, all for one simple price. That's right, for just $50 a month, you can get over 6,000 maps with 20 variations per map and animated versions, 2,000 fantasy scenes, many of which are also animated, 300 tokens, and full access to their custom token builder. And if that's not enough, Cheipeku adds new content every single week to keep things fresh and to make sure you're always satisfied. Cheipeku has been a literal game changer in my home games, and I can't gush over their stuff enough. So if you, like me, want the highest quality maps for the very best price, you gotta hit this link and subscribe to Cheipeku right now. A huge thanks to Cheipeku for all of these amazing maps and for sponsoring the show. And now, back to the video. So you want to become the head of your own congregation without the hassle of ever having to crack a book? Well, to do that, you better start out as a warlock. Warlocks are special in that their magic comes directly from their patron and is gifted to them for some purpose agreed to by both parties. For you, that may be to spread the good word of your divine daddy or begin a holy war on a lich's undead army. Either way, you'll need some tools to work your new trade. That would be pact magic, of which we get 2 spell slots for, and of course celestial spells to boot. Cure Wounds lets you walk that walk, healing the innocent in times of trouble or helping up your allies who fall in battle. But we also get Guiding Bolt, one of the go-to cleric spells, which shoots a divine Kamehameha out of your body and makes the struck target glow for advantage on the follow-up whack. We also get additional cantrips like Light and Sacred Flame, but our warlock staple, Eldritch Blast, will still often be our best cantrip option.
Eldritch Blast.
Lastly, at first level, we gain the ability to heal from a distance by expending our Healing Light. This is basically a souped-up version of Healing Word that acts a little bit more like a paladin's lay on hands. We start with a number of d6s equal to 1 plus our warlock level, and can spend a bonus action to give them to one ally we choose and however many we want up to our charisma modifier. This means at higher levels we can pop up an ally with up to 5 d6s to get them back into a fight quickly and still have an action to cast spells, because we don't have to worry about that stupid 5e bonus action spell rule. Not bad for a guy who got his powers over E-Sign, am I right? But we're already at 2nd level, and that means Eldritch average invocations, and I think Repelling Blast will be our first option. This allows you to push creatures you hit with your Eldritch Blast up to 10 feet away from you in a straight line, which is great for battlefield control and saving your allies from potential threats. But that means we'll turn around and immediately grab our Pact boon at level 3, and I think our best option is the Pact of the Talisman. Now, your connection to your patron grants you a token of their favor, and this amulet or holy symbol or whatever you want really gives you a boost to boot. Now, anytime you or whoever you grant your amulet to can add a d4 to every ability check they fail up to your proficiency bonus, possibly turning failures into successes. But what I like best is that you can grant this to an ally instead of yourself, which is great for both party synergy and for convincing your friends that you're here for more than just the praise. That leads me to another invocation, and Rebuke of the Talisman is a no-brainer. Now, anytime the wearer of your talisman is hit by an attack within 30 feet, you can deal psychic damage equal to your proficiency bonus and again push that creature 10 feet away from the wearer. Combine that with your Repelling Blast and you get what I like to call the Beat Feet Repeat Yeet, as we blast these fools directly off your DM's battle map. We also grab some second level spells with Flaming Sphere, a pretty good concentration spell for running over goblins with a flaming bowling ball, and Lesser Restoration to get your allies out of a tight jam, and cure ailments like paralyzation or poisoning, though we only have 2 spell slots, so maybe make sure you get something back from your allies for it.
Only $65 a pop, and I make nothing. Zero. Zilch. By the time I pay all my scientists, all my people in my research department lab coats, it's a wash.
5th level means another invocation right away, and I like Eldritch Sight for this one, letting you spot all the non-believers as you can cast Detect Magic at will. But we of course also get 2 more spells, and Daylight is great, and can even dispel magical darkness created by a spell of 3rd level or lower, but is honestly best used when fighting opponents who are afraid of the sun. We also get Revivify, and this may be the most useful spell on this list. Picking up allies that have died in battle can be an absolute game changer, and definitely help them like you just a little bit more. Just remember you need to go into town and do a bit of pontificating so you can afford all those diamonds. 6th level lets us show off our Radiant Soul and give our Divine Magic a nice boost. We first gain resistance to radiant damage, but we can also add our Charisma Fire to the damage of any fire or radiant damage on a spell we cast. However, this can only happen on 1 enemy and 1 damage roll at a time, which is a bit confusing. So even though it is a boost to spells like Sacred Flame, Flaming Sphere can only gain the additional damage on 1 of the guys it hits, which isn't the best. However, we may be able to make up for it with another invocation, as Protection of the Talisman lets your talisman wearer add that d4 to their saving throw as well. Incredibly useful in a tough fight with plenty of saves. Then we'll immediately gain 2 more spells, and Guardian of Faith may be my favorite, as having an additional ally on the field is great, but your ability to shove creatures into its field makes this a very useful trap. Add that along with your second spell, Wall of Fire, we can also block exits and set you up for a combo of Divine Fury.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me!
9th level means yet another invocation, and I like Ascendant Step. No need for funny strings when you can actually levitate at will, as well as our last 2 celestial spells. Flame Strike is good and gets a small boost from Radiant Soul, but essentially calls down a fiery column from the sky to ignite your enemies and send a pretty clear signal to everybody else, as well as Greater Restoration, which is another great party saver. Now you can cure things like curses, ability score reductions, petrification, but also exhaustion and charming effects. Level 10 gives us Celestial Resistance, giving you additional temporary hit points anytime you finish a short or long rest, equal to your Warlock level plus your Charisma modifier. But you can do the same to your buddies, giving them temporary hit points equal to half your Warlock level plus Charisma instead. I mean, we do still gotta save the good stuff for ourselves, right? But that'll bump us up to the real Warlock stuff when we grab ourselves a
Mystic Arcana,
which are spells that recover on a long rest instead of a short rest, like spells. And while I kinda wish we had access to the insane stuff on the high-level cleric list, wild warlock shit like Mass Suggestion, Crown of Stars, Feeble Mind, Blade of Disaster all feel pretty fitting for a guy trying to prove his divine right to divine smite. Level 12 means yet another invocation, and I like Bond of the Talisman. This lets you spend an action to teleport to your talisman or let the wearer teleport to you, as long as you're both on the same plane of existence, and can spin and in action to do so. Perfect for sketchy infiltration missions, falls from great heights, or if you accidentally forgot your talisman bearer at the gas station and drove away. But our last Celestial Warlock ability is our best with Searing Vengeance. Once per day, when you're dropped to 0 hit points and forced to make a death save, you can instead choose to bounce right back up and unleash a wave of Divine Wrath. You immediately gain half your total hit points, and each creature you choose within 30 feet of you takes radiant damage equal to 2d8 plus your charisma modifier, and in addition is also blinded until the end of that current turn. No save. Boy howdy is that mean. Basically knocking you unconscious is letting loose a radiant flashbang, dealing damage and ruining vision, allowing you to reposition for the next round or deal some hefty damage to blinded targets. But that means we'll round off with our last 2 invocations, and I like Lance of Lethargy to slow down creatures you hit with your Eldritch Blast by 10 feet, as well as Mire of the Mind, which just lets you cast slow once per day. More spells and battlefield control is always great to have, and this lets you shove your creatures around while stripping away their speed, so I think it's pretty fantastic. And that means we'll hit our capstone with Eldritch Master, a pretty good reset button on all your good stuff, letting you regain all your spell slots by sitting down for a minute and talking it out with your patron, just letting them know it'd be much easier to gather new admissions to the congregation with a few more suggestion spells. They get it, you get it, they get it. But does the Celestial Warlock heal our wicked soul? The Celestial Warlock has some great pros, but also some weird cons. And while I like the idea of a Warlock that works on the side of good, whether their actual intentions align with that spectrum or not, I think there's a few misses here that don't exactly make sense to me. Specifically, Radiant Soul should be much better than it is, and I'm not really sure why it's written this way. A straight boost to damage makes way more sense than 1 creature per damage per casting, and I can't really see why they thought this was the best way to make this ability work. It pretty severely cuts what could have been a great damage dealer and makes it mid to bad at best, which is a shame because the idea is pretty cool. And while things like Celestial Resistance and your spell list are okay, I can't help but feel they could be better, though I do think Healing Light and Searing Vengeance are both pretty great. Honestly, the best place for this subclass actually feels like as a multi-class with the Divine Soul Sorcerer, as you're not only getting free spell slots, but access to the entire Cleric spell list, and sorcery points, and metamagic on top of that, which feels like a major upgrade. And look, I'm not even here to dog on Warlocks, they're actually one of my favorite classes despite their issues, but this one for me falls a little flat. There's great stuff here, but they all kind of awkwardly fit together in a way that doesn't quite work, at least for me. Like, what if instead of Sacred Flame, you could choose to make your Eldritch Blast do radiant damage, that way you could combine it with Agonizing Blast and Radiant Soul. Or Celestial Resistance could give you temporary hit points, but what if it also allowed you to give your party resistance to radiant and necrotic damage if the hit points were still applied? I mean, that's just off the top of my head, but if we're going for a party support Warlock, doesn't it feel like there's more we could do here? However, with all of that being said, for low-level campaigns especially, the Celestial Warlock can make a big difference with Healing Light alone. Not wasting a bonus action spell slot and having a large pool of d6s actually works pretty well, and a Warlock being a healer is a nice change of pace. But for me, do yourself a favor and at least dip into Divine Soul Sorcerer. Trust me, you'll thank me later on that one. But if you've been reluctantly allowed to sit at the lunch table with the Paladin and the Cleric, have been advised not to flirt with your patron as the Holy Boys are a little more uptight, and need to try to remember to ask for more than 2 spell slots next time you sell your soul, guess what? You might be a Celestial Warlock. Hey guys, thanks as always for watching. If you made it this far and like what I do, please remember to hit that subscribe button and like it and do all the YouTube stuff, but also perhaps send this video to a Celestial Warlock in your life. I hope they don't mind the ribbing, it's all in good fun. But if you want to be like any of these awesome people right here on screen, you can join my Patreon for just $1 and get even more fun stuff, with top-tiered patrons getting exclusive games DM'd by me. So to those cool cats, Sora, Sen, King Osire, Spider Lover, Miles Not Yards, and Tedsy, you all are the best, and I can't wait to play again. To everybody still here, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.